TOA, Fit Body Bootcamp, and Fit Body Forever communities. What's up, everybody? Welcome back. Robert Linkul with TrainingTheOlderAdult.com. Good to see you all. Happy to be here and happy to talk to you about sciatica and some lower back issues and my big three. Well, so you have the Stuart McGill Big Three, and then you have, we're calling it the moderate to, medium-sized Linkul Three. So we'll dive into those here in just a little bit. I've got some good videos to show you as well. Speaking of videos, if you are not a TOA Select member, we have had a whole bunch of additions. We now have over 1,200 videos inside TOA Select. That includes 5 different certificate programs, our primary certification, over 600 exercise libraried, cataloged exercises, and the other, whatever that is, 500 or 600 videos outside of that, that are all continued education, mini courses, etc. We have so much stuff in there. So if you are a certified personal trainer, strength coach, physical therapist, exercise physiologist, any of the aboveists, and you want to learn a little bit more about training older pops, check out our website and see all of our new content that we have out there. All right, today we are going to talk specifically about sciatica, lower back pain, and I've covered this in the past and given much more detail on what sciatica is. So I'm going to do a very, very brief review of that. Talk about some of the movements that are like, oh, we got to be cautious or nervous of this. And I'll show you an article that kind of outlines that. And I agree with it to an extent, but I also want to give you some tools that you can utilize right away with your clients that do have sciatica or even just touchy lower backs, period. They may not have sciatic symptoms with the pain, down the leg and all that good stuff. They may just have a touchy lower back. These lifts and these movements will work just as well for that. Okay, so we'll get into that here in just a moment. Let's introduce what this is exactly. Sciatica is an imbalance of musculatures somewhere in your body that start to manipulate and apply different pressures to your lumbar spine that in L1, 2, 3, 4, 5, lumbar vertebrae 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, into S1, that's your sacral spine at the very bottom, okay? Those discs, the pressure being placed or the twisting or the compression or whatever combination of all those movements slowly start to wear away. And then if you have arthritis or osteoarthritis, it accelerates it even more. Or if you're in like a car accident or you fall off a roof or like something drastic happens where your body's compressed or slammed or hit really hard, basically it's a massive amount of wear and tear either over a long-term or an immediate action that compresses down on the disc in between the two vertebrae. And that disc, like a jelly donut, has to come out somewhere. And so as you push down or if you push and twist or if you lean and turn in one direction, that disc, when you push down on it, the pressure, like a jelly donut, it's got to come out somewhere. So as it squirts out, as you see in the picture, right, let's see there, right, you can see that little bulge like starts to push out. Well, as it pushes out, the sciatic nerve runs right around that. And so you're going to experience some type of discomfort, tingling, numbing that usually if it's in L1, L2, somewhere in there, it's going to start right around the butt cheek and kind of go into your hamstring a little bit. And then if it's L2, 3, 4-ish, it's going to go down into your calves. And then if it's L4, L5, S1-ish, it's going to go all the way down to your foot. So based on where you feel your symptoms at, you can definitely, quote unquote, we're not diagnosing, but you just have a better idea of where this injury might occur. And obviously, if you feel symptoms on the left side of your body, this is going to be a left side injury, the right on the right, etc. So something else that kind of goes with this are the musculatures involved. You have your psoas and then you have your iliacus muscle, as you see in the top right there. Those combine to make the iliopsoas muscle. And that musculature, if overdeveloped, overabused, this is sit-ups, leg lifts, leg throwdowns, all that kind of stuff. If that's overdeveloped, overused, you're basically taking your pelvic bone and you're folding it forward and you're taking the high end of your hip, your femoral head, and you're folding it forward. And those 2 points are, in a sense, folding closer together. Now with the vertebrae literally right underneath that, If you are taking a curve of your lumbar that's supposed to be this happy curve as you see, and you start to fold it and fold it and fold it, and eventually it's somewhat straight, the vertebrae aren't designed to be straight. They're designed to stack vertically and take that downward pressure and stabilize you in one position. So they're really not designed to twist all that well or forward fold or extend all that well. They're designed to be a stable center of mass of which everything else can articulate around it. So really you want your L1 through 5 to just kind of be still and to lock down and to hold load, okay? So as we start to abuse these movements, lots of crunches, leg lifts, sit-ups, heavy squats, heavy goblet squats where you're rounding at your spine, your T-spine, etc. And we're talking thousands of reps doing this, or one violent action that puts you in you're in a car accident, you're rear-ended, you fall off a ladder, like something, you land on your tailbone, where it's a violent, angry, unprotected, jolt of your body and then ruptures of the disc. That kind of a thing can occur. Outside of that, this is a wear and tear that takes, many years and reps and decades to create. So symptoms of this: lower back pain, hip pain, burning, tingling, etc. down the leg, difficulty moving your legs, difficulty standing, difficulty sitting for a long period of time, even laying down for a time. The risk factors: you're going to, obviously have more opportunities as your body starts to get older for this to start to degenerate and occur more. Because you're not moving much, there's a potential for obesity. Prolonged sitting is then going to cause circulation issues and everything else, your diabetes, and just an all around inactive lifestyle. Ways to diagnose this: x-rays help-ish. They show you spacing. MRIs and CT scans are better. And then treatment: you have physical therapy, oh boy, steroid injections, surgery, and medications. 2 out of those 4 I do not really recommend. I'm not a doctor. My understanding of this, and having, 30 injections and tons of medication put through my body, the injections are basically a 50-50 chance if it's going to work to give you relief of symptoms or not. The reason for taking a steroid shot would be to get you from where you are now to another form of treatment. Meaning, I need to be able to tolerate the physical therapy to help get my back better. So I'm going to get the steroid shot so when I go through therapy, I can manage the movements, I can build the strength that I need. And then as the steroid starts to wear off and my strength levels kind of equate, I don't have these symptoms anymore. That would be awesome. The other would be, the disc is ruptured in my back, I need to have a discectomy, or I need to have some variation of a surgery. But I can't have that until 3 months from now, 4 months from now, etc. Let's give me the shot. Let me make life manageable to get me to that next bridge, that next treatment of sort. What you don't want to do is just rely on, and again, this is my opinion, you don't want to rely on these steroid shots as your only form of treatment, because number one, when the shot, if it works, again, 50-50, when you have that shot and it starts to work, what do you recognize? I don't feel pain anymore. But is your ruptured disc still there, or your damaged disc? Absolutely, it's still there. So now you just don't feel the discomfort or the pain, which was telling you any movement that you're doing right now, this is hurting it. It's hurting it. It's hurting it. Every time you do blank, right? Whatever it is, that hurts, stop, that hurts, stop. Well, now you don't feel that. So what do? You just keep doing it. You keep squatting with your butt tucked. You keep doing sit-ups and Russian twists, and you keep doing all the things that cause this because you think it's making your core stronger, which is a total crock of shit of what you actually think, like sit-ups and leg lifts and all that. No, if you can carry your body weight, you have a strong core. Outside of that, so you weigh 200 pounds. If you can carry 200 pounds, 100 pounds in each hand, carry it around your driveway, you have a strong core, okay? Let's just call it that. Any other guideline, anything else, garbage, in my opinion. If you can carry your body weight around, you're good. Okay, your core is fine. It doesn't need to be any stronger. If you can't do that, work on your core strength via carrying weights around, because that's really where your body's in the best posture, right? Not trying to pull your pelvis and your sternum closer together, doing crunches and sit-ups and leg lifts, etc. Okay? You're supposed to be vertical and in a good, really good postured position, keeping your core tight to hold your posture, not trying to fold yourself into a crinkled piece of paper. That's what's causing the damage. So stop doing that, number one. But if you take the shot, you can't feel that now. So what do? Oh, let's get strong, let's train. Well, all you do is accelerate more of the damage because you can't feel the symptom that says, please stop doing this. The other part of it is a lot of the steroids have a degenerative form to them, meaning it starts to erode away the bone, or in some cases, the tendon and the ligament connections inside the joint in which you've had the injection in. So it can basically make the issue worse. Not all the steroids, but some of them can do that. Again, I'm not a doctor. I'm not diagnosing or prescribing or telling you anything. Just giving you my feedback, what I've read about and what I've researched, what I've experienced. Not the best options. Basically, it's a bridge to another form of treatment, in my opinion, okay? The physical therapy, great. Surgeries, I think, have been very good. Pain medication, there's addictive qualities to those for sure, so please be careful in moving forward. And if you have any addictive issues with medications right now, reach out to me. I have plenty of resources to help you in that direction. I have had personal experience with that, unfortunately, in my life. All right, sciatica experience to avoid. Forward folding to extremes. Forward folding twisting to extremes. Jumping, running, bounding, anything that's jarring or damaging, and prolonged positioning. Sitting for too long, standing for too long, walking for too long, lying for too long. Depends on the positions that you're in and how you need to be able to readjust and all that. I have other videos that talk about sleeping with sciatica, moving about through the day, etc. Okay, so you can look into that. This one goes a little bit deeper into the details of the descriptions and such, but this is really what I wanted to show you. I'll zoom in on this so you can see a little bit better. The exercises to avoid. So they talk about bent over rows, 100%. This is a very challenging lift in the first place. If you don't have lower back issues, this can be really, really stressful if you're not in the perfect hinge position to allow your hamstrings to take the stretch, to then keep your lower back in a good postured position to allow you to do the row. Now, if you have a single arm bent row where one hand's on a bench, totally different ballgame. You now have back support. So I would say don't exclude bent over rows. I would just do single arm bent over rows so you have a third point of contact to help support you. The hamstring stretch, basically any type of variation of this where you're seated with like a hurdle stretch with one foot out in front of you, both feet out in front, you're trying to reach forward and touch your toes. All of those forward folding, butt tucking positions are all going to be very aggravating and are not going to feel comfortable at all. Forward bending, bending over, trying to touch your toes and return. That's the same thing as the hamstring stretch. You're just standing up now. Double leg lifts. Now, this can be taken in two ways. Let's zoom back in on this one. Double leg lifts. Exercises that require you to lift both legs at the same time while lying can aggravate the sciatic nerve. That's leg lifts, dead bugs, crunches, anything where you are going to lay on your back and lift both of your legs up at the same time. Now, part of the therapy of getting sciatica better is a single leg dead bug variation where one leg stays on the ground and you bring the other one up and do something, either a bridge or an isometric hold or something along those lines, and then you switch. Those are components. But when we lift both up off the ground at the same time, can be rather aggravating. Squatting. Squatting with body weight, goblet squatting, overhead squatting, back squatting, any squat variations in poor postured positions, meaning you're too deep or you're tucking your butt or you're rounding your back or all of the above, can be damaging. However, squatting is not an exercise you want to just stop or remove from your life because it's a huge part of what we do every day. So squatting with proper technique, keep. Squatting with poor technique, let's get rid of. Same goes with deadlifting. If you're going to pick up your shoes, you're going to drop your wallet and pick that. All these are deadlifts. And we've gone through this, to extents. I've beat this to nauseum in the past. The general idea that you perform less than 100 hinges, deadlift variations a day is probably an understatement. It's probably more like 150 to 200. We break and hinge at the hip a lot every single day. And then if you're exercising, you're tripling that number I just gave you. So it's not about deadlifts are bad. It's that rounded back, butt tucked deadlifts with bad posture. Those are bad. As with any other lift across the list of exercises that we can pick from, if you do so with poor posture or poor technique, you're probably going to end up aggravating and hurting something. The deadlift and the squat are the two that are really targeted around your lumbar spine, which make those ones probably the most susceptible to, if you're in any kind of bad posture, are going to have a negative effect. Leg circles, where you are swinging your legs in full circles that can wrench your hamstring suddenly. This is the one where you're standing, you have your hand on a fence, and you're kicking your leg back and forward and back and forward. Hamstring stretch. iliacus and your psoas muscle flexing and pulling forward. So the two musculatures that are probably going to pull your pelvis or tilt your pelvis into a position that damages you or hurts you, leg back, leg forward, you're just addressing both of those. So definitely don't do that. And then high impact exercises. What does high impact mean? Jumping, landing, jarring positions on the ground. Jumping off of boxes, step ups, step downs, any kind of bounding, jogging, running, sprinting, anything that's going to make you leave the ground and or return to it in a jarring fashion, and or if you are unprotected, okay? Unprotected meaning you're not ready for it. Something as simple as stepping off of a curb, a 2-inch curb that you didn't know was there. Okay, it's in the blind spot of your glasses and you just step off and you have that jarring reaction when you land on the ground. That jarring action, you are unprotected, your core is not engaged, can cause higher sciatic symptoms or ruptures. Okay, we've seen people rupture just from taking a very violent step that they were not prepared for. Stumbling forward, staggering forward or backwards, etc. Trying not to fall, all that comes in. One other treatment that does help quite a bit is something called nerve flossing. This is something that you would talk to your physical therapist about before you do so. And number one, the picture on the bottom left, that is the good passive way to do this. When you look down, you are stretching the nerve, if you will, and in a flossing kind of format, flossing back and forth. We're not talking literal flossing. We're talking the action of pulling forward and back on a nerve ending, right? When I have both my knees flexed, the nerves from my hips down are on slack. So if I tilt my head down, the nerve ending at the high end of my torso will get a little bit of a stretch and an activation. But then when I lift my head up, that gets put on slack so I can extend my leg and stretch the one at the bottom. So I'm gonna go top to bottom, bottom to top to bottom to top, like I would do if I were flossing, okay? What you don't want to do is have your doctor or husband or wife or whatnot shove all their body weight down on the top of your head and yank you into that position. That's a terrible way to do this. And the basic way to see if you do have sciatica is that slump test. My sciatica, number one, knock on wood, is not of any type of flare or aggravation right now. It seems like every time I talk about it, my back starts to hurt. So I'm always cautious to do these videos. But even if I just demonstrate that slump test once, it'll start to hurt. That's how potent my sciatica is. So if you extend a leg or both legs, straight out in front of you while you're seated, and then look down at the floor, try to like touch your chin to your chest and look straight down on the floor. If you get any type of seizing spastic pain that shoots anywhere from the bottom of your foot all the way up to the back of your neck, all the way up the backside of your body, anywhere in there, that's usually a pretty good indicator that you have some type of nerve-related damage and or sciatica of your lumbar spine. So there's a little nerve flossing technique to help warm it up. Really good thing to do before you exercise. I do that often, along with the exercises I'm going to show you here. One more tool, well, a couple of more tools to look at here as well is the seated position can be very, very damaging. So from the ground up, having something that elevates your feet up a little bit off the floor so your knees and your hips are at the same 90-degree angle, if not open a little bit. Notice the knees are slightly lower. I think they show it at 120 degrees there. And then from 90 to 120 degrees. And then the same at the elbow. You want your workstation that you are standing or sitting at, your hands and your elbows should be pretty much at the same height. Your screen should be at eye level so you don't have to look down or round down. You can look straight ahead, and having a little bit of neck support, sitting with good high, tall posture. A little back support is always good for you. In some cases, like my chair, I do not use back support, but I do that on purpose to keep me engaged and keep my posture active all day, but I built up to that. That takes a while to build too. You can't just, I'm gonna go get a Bosu ball, or not a Bosu ball, a physio ball, and just sit on that. That's gonna be my chair from now on. 20 minutes in, your back and your hips and your glutes are gonna hurt so bad. You have to sit on that for 5 minutes and then go back to, a regular chair and slowly build up to sitting on that for maybe a half hour at a time. I sit on a giant plyo box. So it sits my hips and my feet exactly at the right height to where my lower body is comfortable and my core, my upper body is on, and I can sit here for hours and feel very comfortable, but I do not use back support. I never do. That's just a personal preference. I'm either standing or I'm sitting like this. That is my personal preference, but everybody has a personal preference. This is a guided tool there to assist you a little bit. Built from Broken, great book. The Ultimate Back and Fitness Performance book, that's a great one too. And then The Gift of Injury, very, very good book. A couple of Stuart McGill books there for you to look at. Speaking of Stuart McGill, here are Stuart's big three. I've made multiple videos about that. doing the single knee bent curl up, which is basically a half of a crunch, like you're starting to do a Turkish get up, and then you lay right back down again with one knee bent, and you would do 3 to 5 on one side, 3 to 5 on the other. The 6-point or the quadruped position, bird dog, and then side planks, okay? Those are his big 3. So the Linkul moderate size 3 are these 3 strength exercises that I'm gonna take you through here. The suitcase carry, the hinged pull down and or pullovers if you don't have a way to do hinge pull downs, and the half kneeling windmill. These are the ones that I feel like give me the best return for my clients in the amount of time and the amount of effort that they put in. If I want immediate returns, immediate, like, okay, we're having a very good response to the exercise we put in. These are the 3 where I feel like we get the best. All right, so here's Joyce performing a traditional suitcase carry, working on stride length here. We will have people say, well, she could carry twice as much weight if she could do a farmer carry, right? A weight in each hand. The weight in each hand works as a counterweight, which means you're the 10 pounds you hold in your right and the 10 pounds you hold in your left, now you're just balancing them, which does give you 20 pounds of vertical pressure down on your spine. And granted, that's fine, that's dandy, okay? What it doesn't do is help in any kind of imbalance in musculature, which is usually why sciatic symptoms occur, is one-sided sports, one-sided movements, one side that gets overly developed, the other one is underdeveloped. That asymmetry needs to be filled in the gap. So if I carry a 15-pound dumbbell in my right hand and nothing in my left, yes, that's 5 pounds total less. However, my entire left side is responsible for stabilizing the weight in my right hand. I carry it, and then I'll switch hands, and now my right side gets to work. And pending which one might be a little weaker, which we have some tests to show you that. Okay, check out our TOA website. That'll give you some more information on that if you're interested. Okay, that will give you an opportunity to build in those strengths and try to even up some of the imbalances that you may have. Now, we do the sit downs. As you see, here's my dad setting down in between the feet, always in between. We turn because we're still beginners, we're still learning. We pick up the weight with one hand, put it to the outside, and then transfer. Because we're having to engage so many muscles, we have a greater muscular effort, and gait improvements are seen here often. Waddling small steps sometimes turn into not so waddling long steps, and we'll see taller postures as more muscles are recruited to keep our body from overweighing, overlaying, overleaning to one side or overcompensating in the other direction. All right, Pop's absolutely crushing this. Man, I miss him. Very good suitcase carries, good long strides for Dad, that high posture. He's moving at a pretty fast clip there. That was pretty badass right there. All right, so there's your first one. Suitcase carries, I would say ultimate goal, I don't know, a quarter to 3/4, no, a quarter to half of your body weight, obviously on one side, would be an awesome goal, okay? So if you're 200 pounds, you're looking at a 50-pound suitcase carry to eventually 100 pounds on one side, if you can do it. All right, the next lift is called a hinged pull down. You're in a hinged position, so we're tractioning the spine while reaching overhead, allowing the lats, the serratus, the pecs even, the rhomboids, everything to stretch, the long head of the tricep, all of this to stretch and get this long, big response in here where we're able to get a tractioned lower back stretching of the spine, the vertebrae, the discs in between, displacement, my hips sit down, my lats, my elongated arms stretch and reach, everything's pulling, elongating me, and I get that activation of everything pulling back down into a good posture position. This is posterior dominant, and either from the half kneeling position, like you see Janine doing here, or as you saw Kenton doing from the standing position, either one is going to increase this big full range of all posterior engagement muscles while under traction. That's exactly what we want, is instead of compressing the spine, you're slowly starting to pull it apart, stretch it apart just a little bit. Now, we're doing this in a very slight fashion. I'm not telling you to go out and get those dumb moon boots and hook them up to a pull-up bar and hang upside down with 100% of your weight pulling and wrenching apart. That's way too much traction. We want just a little tiny bit. And that's where hanging on to 20, 30 pounds of pressure, pulling you into that overhead position, elongates the spine, creates a little relief. Sometimes as little as 1 set of 5 can reduce symptoms and make somebody feel so much better. Simply grabbing onto a bar or a pair of TRX straps or rings or suspension straps and just shifting back into that hinge and relaxing into that position can create enough traction to give some symptomatic relief. Okay, so 2 lifts down, suitcase carry overloading one side, tractioning, elongating, stretching the posterior chain on the second. Our third one, and my absolute favorite mobility, is to do what I'm about to show you here, the half kneeling windmill, unloaded, meaning no weight at all, but the exact same thing that I'm doing here, and then eventually build up to the point where you do it with weight. This is part of a mobility routine I do on a regular basis. Part of my daily warm-up is to be down on the right knee with my left foot straight ahead, my right knee, let's call it train tracks, okay? Right knee, right foot on the right train track, left knee, left foot on the left train track, to put my right foot over on the left. See how I've moved my right foot over to the side? So it's allowed my hip to pivot and open a little bit. And then from there, I'm going to, again, I'm using weight to start off, just do body weight, hinge, unload, put all your weight down on your hands, relax your back for a second, re-engage and come back up to that half kneeling position. Now, eventually, you're going to hinge and then reach the inside arm. My left arm is my inside arm going towards my left thigh as I reach up overhead and work that thoracic rotation, opening me up even longer. Okay, now that position from there is going to give me an opportunity to eventually do that middle half kneeling windmill Turkish get up piece with weight overhead. But to start, simply put your hands on the ground, deload, re-engage, come up. Hinge, unload, re-engage, and come up. What we mean by unloading is you don't just touch your hand there for a second. You put all your weight down on your hands and relax your lower back. Think of this, best analogy I can give you is you're handing somebody a air conditioner to hang in their window. If you are inside the room and you're reaching the air conditioner over the cut and you're reaching it out the window, think of how much pressure you're putting on your lower back. You reach out that long lever, your back's going, oh my goodness, I don't know if we can handle this. That kind of pressure. Well, right at the last second, the other person on the other side grabs the air conditioner and takes all that pressure away, and your lower back goes, oh, okay, I can relax now. That's what this is. When you hinge, and you just touch your hand and then return, nobody ever helped you take the air conditioner on the other side. You just take all that pressure and you return. But if you put all of your weight down on your hands, deload, shut it off for a second, someone takes the air conditioner from you, you get to feel the stretch, and then you're going to return with the air conditioner, you take it back. You hand it out and you take it back. Every time you get to deload your back, relax your back for a second, re-engage and come up. Now to advance it, you're gonna hinge, put all your weight down on my right arm, your right arm, and then reach up, get the thoracic rotation, hold it for a second, and then return. One other thing you can do from this position right here is start to shift your body weight back a little bit. If I were to take my left butt cheek, that's my high butt cheek, and push it back towards the squat rack, I would get even greater high glute hamstring stretch, and I would get some QL, quadratus laborum stretch going up my side and my spine, my erectors, etc. All of those getting stretched. All of these are opening that QL, opening the glutes, opening all the musculatures that are kind of wrapped around the spine that keep them really, really tight and can aid in creating a tighter, less flexible lower back, ultimately stressing more sciatic symptoms. So by practicing deloading from this half kneeling position and the thoracic rotation, putting both together is a very safe way to work your thoracic rotation of your spine, even under load, okay? Eventually doing so under load. So one more time, hinging, unload, relax, re-engage, tall. Hinge, unload, re-engage, tall. Now I'm going to unload, put all my weight on my right arm, reach, rotate, stretch those erectors, stretch the QL, stretch my intercostals, etc., all through the trunk, giving me a pretty great opportunity to eventually, right here, return to that upright position from the half kneeling Turkish get-up position, if you will. All right, gang, I hope you enjoyed this. If you have any questions for me, feel free to throw them in the comment section down below. little heads up, we have on November 9th our second annual TOA workshop. We are hosted here in Rancho Cordova, Sacramento, California area at Fit Body Boot Camp Rancho. Our friends, the Swifts, are hosting us there. They've got a big, beautiful gym. We are going to have 50 max people in-house and as many people as we can get online joining us. We are over 70, just over 70% full to this date, which right now is October 14th. So we've got about 20-ish days, somewhere around in there, 25 days or so in our countdown. We would love to have you either here with us or virtually online. Still hop on there, get registered. NSCA, CEUs, ACE CEUs, and any other organization that you are certified through, our NSCA and ACE CEUs are applicable to your certificate. They are accepted by all. Any questions? You got my email information there attached, robertlinkul@gmail or robert@fitbodybootcamp. Feel free to reach out to me. November 9th, come see myself. I'll be doing a talk. Jonathan Mike doing 2 talks. Greg Johnson, John Bauer, Dan and Lisa McLean are both going to be there. We're going to have a great time. It's going to be a really fun event. All kinds of great stuff. Lunches included, t-shirts, tons of prizes. It's going to be a great event, so we want you there. Comments, questions, hit me up in the comment section down below. If not, continue to fight your good fight against sarcopenia. Thank you for joining us today. We appreciate you, and we will see you next time. Take care.